everybody, Karen Chart here, welcome to another video. Now, we all know Spider-Man is one of the most popular comic book characters out there, if not the most popular comic book character and superhero out there. With more movie adaptations, so more comic books, more video games than people know what to do with. And as far as the movies go, depending on who you ask, it's been nothing short of amazing. Some of them are hit or miss. But one thing a lot of fans can agree on is that his interpretation in the MCU between Marvel, Disney, and Sony, where he was played by Tom Holland, is nothing short of amazing, spectacular, maybe even the ultimate interpretation of Spider-Man. Pun intended, actually. Now, we all know his fourth appearance in the MCU. As far as his fourth solo movie goes, it's inevitable, it's going to happen. And rumor has it that Sony's aiming for it to be a bit more of a multiverse film where we see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire pop up at the end. Now, as much as I love those guys, as much as I love their respective Spider-Man, we just had them. I kind of think we need a break from multiverse stuff. I would love to see a more grounded Spider-Man movie. I think some other fans do too. And that being said, what villains should appear in a more grounded Spider-Man movie where we see Peter Parker kind of recovering from the events of No Way Home and how he deals with the fact that nobody remembers who he is? That being said, this is a list of villains that I would love to see in Tom Holland's fourth Spider-Man movie. Let me know what you guys think, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so first up on my list here, I have a villain that I don't know if anybody will agree with this. A lot of people might not agree, but we were first introduced to her in 2018's Marvel Spider-Man game made by Insomniac Games, which, by the way, an amazing game. Play it if you haven't yet. It is freaking awesome. And the villain in question here is none other than Screwball. Now, she's definitely an odd character, kind of hyper, kind of weird, but at the same time, kind of an interesting Spider-Man villain to have. She's definitely grounded, she has no special powers, unless you want to count her influence on social media and how she talks to people and how she's able to manipulate them. That's what I think is really compelling about Screwball as a villain, as a character, and as a person, is her ability to speak and to manipulate people and to convince them to do all these crazy crimes on her behalf, to put these people through all these sorts of tests in games, kind of like how we saw her do to Spider-Man in 2018 Spider-Man game, and later on in the three-part DLC, The City That Never Sleeps. Now, how could she work in a more grounded, a bit more of a serious and semi-dark, semi-not Spider-Man movie? Well, for those of you who have seen 2022's The Batman with Robert Pattinson, where we see the Riddler played by Paul Dano, I think if they wrote her in a similar way to where she sets up these crazy games with all these corrupt politicians maybe, or corrupt city folk, or whoever, I think that could be a very interesting take, because one of the vibes I got from Riddler, other than the Zodiac Killer, is I kind of got a Jigsaw vibe. So if they maybe even write her as somewhat of a Jigsaw character, and she puts all these people through all these crazy games and tests and scenarios that are beyond corrupt, that have done really bad things, I think that could be a really cool thing to see in a Spider-Man movie. Or if you think Riddler, Zodiac, and Jigsaw are a bad way to describe Screwball in terms of putting people through games and all that, for those of you who have seen the Escape Room movies, which if you haven't watched them, they are absolutely amazing and really compelling in their own way. And look at that, and I think if you can kind of see where I'm going with putting people through games, through all these different rooms and challenges and whatnot, and Spider-Man has to save all these people, knowing that they did bad things, terrible things, horrendous things even, because that's just the guy he is. He looks out for everybody and will save everyone if he absolutely can, because he knows it's the right thing to do. So this is a villain that I really feel will test Spider-Man on his morality. Up next here, I have a villain that a lot of fans, including myself, absolutely love, and we almost got in because he was teased in the post-credit scene of No Way Home, is my boy Scorpion. This is a villain that we know can very easily push Spider-Man to his limits, and was designed to literally be a predator to Spider-Man, because a scorpion is a prey to most species of spiders. And now, how could this work in a more grounded Spider-Man movie, you might ask? Well, he doesn't have that many crazy powers. He was basically a science experiment funded by J. Jonah Jameson and his pure and utter hatred for Spider-Man. Now, we know at the end of No Way Home, do people remember Peter Parker? No, nobody's heard of him at this point, because everyone's memories of Peter Parker on planet Earth was absolutely erased. Now, one thing that's for certain though is that J. Jonah Jameson absolutely, without a doubt, still hates Spider-Man. So we don't know how much money J. Jonah Jameson has in the MCU. Is it enough to fund a science experiment for him to create Scorpion? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But to see Spider-Man go through all the crap and all the BS that he did throughout the MCU and still get up and decide to be a hero for the city because he knows it's the right thing to do, that's, first of all, that's admirable. That's absolutely amazing. That being said, to have a villain like Scorpion push him to his absolute physical and maybe even mental limit would be absolutely insane. Like, come on, give us Scorpion. Give him the suit. Give him that enhanced agility, speed, and strength. And give us that tail. Because that tail can do a lot of crazy things depending on what version of Scorpion you look at. I've seen some where he can shoot lasers out of that tail. Now, I kind of sort of don't want to see that. But one thing I want to see that I think was really cool, if they could take a page from Insomniac Games' book. Sorry that I reference that game a lot. It's just one of the best Spider-Man games I ever played in my life. If they even put maybe like a neurotoxin or like some kind of like poison or acid in there, that could be really cool. That's a much more grounded, that would be a much more grounded way of interpreting Scorpion for live action. I really want Scorpion in this movie. That being said, back earlier on when I said he was teased in the post-credits scene of No Way Home, the guy that was supposed to play him, come on, bring the guy back, come on. I would love to see that guy play Scorpion. I can't imagine a more perfect casting. Now, next up is a very classic Spider-Man villain that I know a lot of fans have heard of and that a lot of fans like, is none other than Chameleon. Now, Chameleon's a very classic comic book character, like I just said, and for those of you who don't know, Chameleon is technically the first costume villain Spider-Man ever faced in the comics, and is definitely one of the more interesting, and in my opinion, one of the more deadly or tricky even villains that Spider-Man ever faced, because first of all, while he may not have any special powers in particular, he's a trained and skilled assassin, depending on what interpretation you look at, and he has, as far as the animated series goes, this belt that allows him to I don't want to say transform into other people, but for lack of being able to come up with a better word or phrasing, transform into other people, other characters, and pretend to be them for a while, kind of have similar powers. And this happened in the animated series, where he pretended to be Spider-Man and gave Spider-Man a bad rap, even did it to Peter Parker to make him look like a total jerkweed, and it was very interesting. It definitely tested Spider-Man and Peter Parker for sure, because of the fact that he was able to transform into him and other people that he cared about. And to see that as a costume, as a villain in a more grounded Spider movie, I think could really work, especially if they have him turn into people that he knows Peter or even Spider-Man cares about, and Peter maybe not know if he can trust people anymore at all, more than he already maybe does or doesn't. I think that could be very interesting and make for a very compelling Spider-Man movie. I think it would be really cool. Alright, this next villain kind of goes off of a fan theory that's been going on that I don't believe has been debunked. Let me know in the comments if it has or if it hasn't. Is I would love to see Hobgoblin. I think he would be a very interesting villain, especially going off of the theory that the character Ned could appear as a Hobgoblin at some point in the future in the MCU. And what could make that interesting? And first of all, before I actually go into that, it was confirmed by Marvel Studios themselves that eventually people will start questioning their memories as far as remembering Peter Parker goes. So eventually people will slowly start to remember him, or who Spider-Man really was even. That being said, if Ned ends up remembering who Peter was, he's understandably going to be very angry with him, because before the spell Dr. Strange did in No Way Home, Peter promised to him and to MJ that he would find them and he would make them remember, and that he would go back for them because of how much he cares about them. And now, as we know, Peter decided not to do that because of the fact that with how close they were to Peter and how much they knew about him as Spider-Man, it made them a target, and he cared about them way too much to put him in that danger again. But at the same time, if we imagine it from Ned's point of view, Ned would understandably be mad, because he'd be like, this guy was my best friend, he said he'd come back for me, and he didn't. What the hell? That could make for a very interesting story, and a very compelling and emotional, I don't know, a very raw, solid Spider-Man story. And if it's true that he ends up being the Hobgoblin, that'll be very interesting. Because Hobgoblin, as you know, is he's one of the most popular characters out there, similar to Green Goblin, but and depending on how you look at it, maybe a bit more maniacal, depending on how you look at it. So I think that it could be very interesting, especially if they go with the theory of Ned coming back and being the Hobgoblin and going after Peter and being like, how does this guy even know who I am? Nobody remembers me. And then somehow later on finds out that Ned ends up questioning his memory and remembered that Peter is Spider-Man and remember who Peter was and everything they ever did together. That will be a very interesting Spider-Man movie and a very interesting villain at that. Alright everybody, that's it for the video today. What did you think of my villain wish list and who do you think should play these villains? Leave that in all that information, all that good stuff in the comments below. Subscribe for more if you haven't already. And if you want to see more videos like this, or if you have certain requests for videos like this, or any other kind of videos for me to do, drop that in the comments below. I will be more than happy to make them. And I will see you all next time.